Hey there, Pete Erickson here with Modev. This is something I've had a great time doing the last few weeks. We are meeting the speakers at Voice and AI. We call it Inside Voice and AI, where we get a chance to talk with the folks that are going to come to the conference and share their knowledge really at the edge of where the markets are today related to this intersection between conversational AI, generative AI, large language models, and really the future for how products are being built now and how people are accomplishing, customer experience automation and so many other things. Everything seems to have changed in the last year, although that's been many years in the making. But there are several leaders that are kind of on the forefront of this change, engineering leaders for some of the biggest companies in the world. And my next guest is no exception to that, but it's even more fun for me because he's somebody who I've known well for more than a decade. And I'm lucky enough to call him a friend and a colleague. I'm going to welcome to the stage here, Mr. Sanjeev Sharma. Sanjeev, how you doing?
Very good, Pete. And, it is interesting to see how much both of us have changed and evolved over the decade that we've known each other. It was coincidental, you running a meetup. That's where we first met at a small meetup you were running, which has now become a series of events and conferences. So congratulations on your journey. And can't wait to dive into this next new exciting topic we are all have the privilege of being a part of.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjeev. When I didn't get your title in there, you were the SVP of Engineering Platforms for Dell Technologies. Tell us a little bit about that role specifically. What is your charter now with Dell?
Sure. So I actually started at Dell just a few months ago, or 9 months ago, and I am in what is known as an ISG division. This is all the data center products, right? So not the laptops, the monitors, but basically servers, storage, telco, networking, all the equipment that a large enterprise or any company is going to put into their data center, right? So my team is a shared services team. We are responsible for all the engineering and development platforms for all the developers, hardware engineers, software engineers, testers, program managers, product managers who put out the wonderful products we have from Dell. So that's what my responsibility is. We are responsible for all the infrastructure, for all the software tools, for all the hardware and design tools they have, and the entire product delivery lifecycle, any services they need. So it's a pretty broad area, and the timing is perfect because AI is becoming a very core component of all the tools we have in our arsenal to help make our engineers and developers more productive.
Yeah, I tell you, it's well. I tell you what, congratulations on this role. It does sound like it's a pivotal role at Dell, and it sort of touches everything with regards to the company and the products that they deliver on a daily basis. So yeah, when we met, you had brought your son to a hackathon that we organized. I think this is back in 2011.
And oh yeah, he was in middle school. Right now he's graduated from college, so it's been a while.
Yeah, and I just thought it was so cool. Here we had 11, 12, 13-year-olds, and several parents brought their kids, and I thought that was so cool. And what was fun for me as an organizer is just seeing the spark in some of these kids, and your son was no exception. So tell us a little bit about what he's doing now, because I think he went on to study. Did he study computer science? I can't remember what he finished with.
No, actually, he studied at Virginia Tech, great school. So he's a Hokie. I'm a Hokie dad. I'm a Hokie dad hat.
And a legacy. Legacy.
He just graduated with a degree in business information technology, BIT, with a focus in cybersecurity and data sciences. And, his, other than, it wasn't just looking at me being in technology, which was an inspiration, but actually coming to things like the meetup you ran and participating in a hackathon. He actually wrote an app with the Twilio API, and in fact he won a prize from Twilio for it. So all those things don't know where somebody said something, or you have an experience and that changes the entire direction. Who knows what he would have been as far as a career is there had it not been for that meetup. So obviously he knows you well. He knows all the things that are going on, and he's just excited to have been a part of that journey.
No, that's great. Well, congratulations to you as a father, and we're very happy.
Thank you.
Very happy for your son. So let's talk about how much the world has changed. And, as a developer yourself, and as somebody who manages a lot of developers, throughout the years, there's this, there's a lot of talk about, the future of developers is, developers going to be replaced. And I think it's a little bit, like the AI apocalypse people. Like, that's just not true. You don't know how many trillions of lines of code there are out there that actually have to be refactored by developers. And there's just so much more code now, right? There's an opportunity for more code. So there's going to be a need for more people to manage code. But I would love to get your take. How is the landscape changing? And with all of the, the code generators now, how do you see the role of developer changing?
Yeah, so I think developers are not going to get eliminated. In fact, if anything, developers are becoming more powerful. To me, this is assistive technology, not artificial intelligence. Sure, there's artificial intelligence, but more the goal is for them to be our assistants and to assist in code. In fact, I was meeting with some folks over the last couple of weeks at Dell Technologies, and instead of giving them presentations of what we are doing, I show them a demo. I go into my IDE and I show how the code, how the AI tools we are using, and we are evaluating a couple of them, assist us in generating code, whether it is through auto suggestion, as I'm typing code, which is dark magic in my opinion. How the heck did it know what I wanted to do, or whether it is using other functions like generating unit tests, writing documentation, helping explain code. I mean, that's a huge one, by the way. Very few tools have that capability, but those which do, I think that's a superpower. Because in any organization, right, unless you're a brand new startup, as a developer, the first thing I have to do when I walk in is understand what's the code base already there. And having a tool explain that to me, literally module by module, line by line, is priceless. And those are all tools that help developers become more productive, not replace them. In fact, some of the surveys we ran internally, one of the questions we are asking is, what percentage of your time is now freed up so you can focus on writing more complex code? So all the rote stuff, right. Is written, all the basic structure, the scaffolding of my code gets written by my bot, so to speak, and then I can go fill in the complex code where a lot of logic is required, where maybe I have to draw some sequence diagrams, or I'm an old UML guy, so for X rational software, so draw a sequence diagram before I can see what the code will do. I don't think that'll ever get replaced, right? The amount of focus we have to do on that it'll give us more time, right? If I was writing heads down in a flow mode code for 10 hours a week, maybe I can go to 12. And during those 12 hours also, I can be more productive because the bot is doing all the grunt work for me. Quite frankly, Pete, I foresee maybe this is probably already there, right? Like a developer like my son walks in at an interview and says, which code assistant do you use? And if they say we don't use any, they walk out the door and say, why would I be a less productive developer working here, whereas I can use all these tools and be a much more productive developer? I think that time is already here. I don't think that's a time which is in the future anymore. This is now.
Yeah, I tell you, I think you got it spot on. I love how you framed it, that it's assistive technology. Also, what most people don't understand is not only is the existing code that companies have need to be, if you're going to start, generating code to then go on with that, it has to be factored in a way that can actually be added onto, right? It needs to be refactored. But the other thing too is most companies have a super long list of products that they want to get to, right? Things that are in the pipeline, right? So there's just, there's a big backlog. So the opportunity becomes, yes, for developers, maybe if they're more productive, you can actually speed up your product release cycles. But now you can just build more products and release more products, or do things that are more complex that just have to get shelved because there just isn't time to get to them. So yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, if you look at innovation, right? Whether you read the Innovator's Dilemma or that, just look at innovation. How does one innovate? How does one, find what works, right? It is a series of experimentations, a series of experiments one runs to figure out, okay, this works, this did not work. Or of these 5 things which work, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E testing to figure out what's best for my customer. The cost, the value of you really find true innovation if you run lots of experiments to figure out which one works, right? By definition, when you're running all these experiments, most of them will fail. What I believe from an innovation perspective, this assistive technology is going to do is lower the cost of innovation, because now the cost of me running experiments is is lesser, because I can run more of them, because I can run one experiment and tell the bot, hey, take this code, now rewrite it some other way, right? Make all the windows, show a different way, or change the flow to the alternate flow I have. I think these tools will also become much more intuitive in understanding. Maybe we can give it a graphical workflow or sequence diagram, say generate the code. Right? As that comes, we'll see more innovation, because the cost of running an experiment will go down. That's what happened, a couple of decades ago when cloud came around. I didn't have to buy all these servers. I could rent them and experiment, right? Now, did buying servers go away? Of course not. Dell wouldn't have existed if buying servers went away. There's still on-prem servers. There's still people investing in infrastructure. But a new model has come. Now you can subscribe to servers even on-prem. Dell and other companies, we all allow you to subscribe. It just changed the paradigm, but they didn't eliminate a whole segment, right? The same way, it lowers the cost of experimentation if I can now subscribe to a bot, and that bot helps me run many more experiments for the same cost, right? And I can do more with the same, or more with less even.
Right. Yeah, and I think the on-prem argument is going to get, or the strategy is going to get picked up more with large language models, because I think companies are going to be like, we want to use an LLM, but we want to actually host it. And we don't want we want to make sure that we actually can control all the data that's going into and out of the model.
Yeah, and also you want to personalize it for yourself, right? So take a company like us, which has a decade's worth of software code. Why would we not want our large language model, our generative AI tool, to learn that, be trained on that code, so that it understands how we write code, understand what's already written, it understands where it can reuse the code, and also understands our standards and practices about how we write code, right? Otherwise, we'll have to clean up the code after we generate it to make it conform to our standards. So I think that is the direction we're going, where these tools will become more personalized, not just to an individual, but at least definitely at the company level. So there is definitely a case. In fact, I don't want to give any company names here or anything. I'm not endorsing any vendor, but one of the vendors we are working with allows us to run it on-prem, train it on our code, and what they refer to as fine-tuning the code, it generates for us. I think that is priceless, and that is definitely the next generation. And these LLM models are now small enough that you can run them on-prem on a, the cost is on the GPUs, by the way, Pete. It's not in anything else. It's all the GPUs.
Yes. There is that.
Where the infrastructure cost is.
Right. Yeah, no, really interesting. I think that I feel a little bit like the market is in this what now moment. I sort of just get that sense. So if I'm a major enterprise and I've been thinking about maybe a chatbot or conversational AI strategy, and I've been scoping out for the last couple of years, and maybe I've even selected some vendors maybe I've selected a vendor. But now that with the arrival of ChatGPT and now the flood of LLMs and some of the big open source projects that are here, it's sort of like, I do feel a little bit like the market is in this, wait a minute, let's reassess what we're doing in our strategy. Are you getting that sense from where you're sitting?
Yeah, I think, I've seen, this AI is not new. Chatbots are not new. When did Watson, I was at IBM when Watson beat the humans at Jeopardy. Right. Sure. So AI is not new, right? And that was a language model, by the way. It communicated with Alex Trebek in plain English, right? That was the whole differentiation of Watson over other systems was existing then. What has changed today is two things. One is the GPU power, the compute power, which we can get from all these GPUs, is orders of magnitude higher than what we had back then. Back when, Watson was trying to learn English and answer which airport in North America was actually not in Toronto, if you remember that, what happened with its final answer, right? So the GPU compute power has gone off the grid. Second thing is the development of transformers, right? And the release of transformers going mainstream, which allows us to now create large language models. I think the intersection of those two is what has resulted in truly AI becoming mainstream. It is not something where you say, well, I got to go hire consultants, I got to go, buy up gobs of GPUs. It's still lots of GPUs. Don't get me wrong, but they're much. We have some phenomenal servers, right? Check them out on Dell's website, which can allow you to leverage all these GPUs. But I come back to the conversation. But the existence of these models, which allow it to make it so simple that a regular person can go in, type in what they want, and the AI will tell you. Sure, we have to deal with hallucinations, we have to deal with model biases and all that. In fact, that's the topic of my talk at the Voice and AI event in September. And we have to make that whole process simpler. But it is a revolution, and everybody's looking around saying, they're having FOMO. In fact, right? They're going, I don't want to get left behind. I don't want to miss out. Right? Every time I talk about AI, my peers and the leadership ask me, what do you think the other companies are doing? Where we are asking other companies, I'm asking all my peers. When I talk to my friends who are in similar roles, they ask me, what are you guys doing? Right? And I'm asking them, what are you guys doing? So I think it's hit the inflection point where this is definitely mainstream. Not only is it mainstream, it's showing results, right? It's not just a question of something going mainstream, it is having impact. And within the next year or two, we'll start seeing impact on bottom lines of companies which are not AI companies, right? It's the analogy, I think, I forget who was on Twitter, I forget who said it, but they said when the refrigerators came out, the first companies to benefit were the refrigerator makers. Right. But the companies really benefit that in the sense that they could create new business models were soda manufacturers and ice cream manufacturers. Because till then, the concept of having ice cream in your refrigerator or having a soda in your refrigerator, which was cold, and I guess beer too, didn't exist. The only way to get a cold one was to go to a place where they had ice, or you had to buy a block of ice and put it in a cooler. We are right now at the refrigerator manufacturers are leading the market time of that timeline.
Yes.
Now we got to figure out which business are going to become the ice cream makers, vendors, and the soda vendors who say, I'm going to put ice cream in your fridge, right? I'm going to put sodas in your fridge.
Really great analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I could remember. I cannot take credit for it. Somebody on Twitter said it. I just said it was good. And I've been reusing it ever since.
We're here to share. We're here to share what we're hearing. And I think this brings up the point about your talk at Voice in AI, and part of this, the purpose for these conversations is to give people an insight of who they're going to meet at this conference, it is it's a great benefit to have somebody in your position at Dell who's got a purview on technology at the level you do. To share what it is you're seeing and your ideas. And it's, it is a really interesting time. Tell me a little bit about what are you looking forward to at Voice in AI?
Well, I'm looking forward to, first of all, the show, right? You always put together a phenomenal, an eclectic group of people, right? So I'm there more to meet others, right? The presenting is an excuse to be there, right? Because it forces me to make the time to be there. I love going to conferences. I love meeting the people, and I know I've been looking at the list of folks you have, and I can't wait to watch the other recordings you're doing with other presenters, because that to me is the attraction, right? I mean, even when you just did a Voice event, right? I think that's the last event of yours I attended a couple of years ago. It was just the people I met. Some of them I'm still in touch with, right? And it's absolutely phenomenal because they were doing interesting stuff, and we kept in touch. So I'm looking mostly to meet other people, not just the speakers, but also the attendees. So I hope some of you will come say hi, tell me about your cool products. And, my presentation is in fact, the title is "The Future is Promptless," right? And it's a play on serverless, right? My thesis of the talk really is that prompt engineering is too difficult right now. People don't understand how prompts are written. If you have to read, here are 10 ways to write better prompts on ChatGPT, which somebody tweets out every couple of days, or here are powerful prompts. If that's needed, then we haven't reached the level of abstraction which we need to be at. So, talking about serverless, right, where the term first came from, serverless didn't eliminate servers. There's still servers underneath. Sorry, spoiler alert, right? There's servers underneath. What you've created is layers of abstraction that using them does not require you to know where that the server even exists, right? It abstracts away the complexity of dealing with servers. And of course, the billing and all is different, but I digress. My thesis is that the future, the prompts need to be that way, that the tool assists you in writing better prompts. Today, just by changing a couple of words in a prompt, I can get totally different answers.
Yeah.
And by the way, the answers are not deterministic, which we are fine with because the tool is also learning. But even on refactoring code, let's take the coding example, right? If I give it a source code and say refactor this code, it's going to refactor the code. But I can say refactor the code to make it readable, more readable. It's going to refactor the code differently. Instead, if I say refactor the code to extract methods, that's a totally different purpose. Now, if I don't know enough about how the prompt works, the underlying prompt parser works, and how it interprets what I'm asking, I'm not going to get the best results. So my thesis of my talk is that the future, you truly need to be able to have the prompt not be so complex and not need to know how to structure a prompt because the bias doesn't need to be in the model or the training data. The bias can be in your prompt also. You could say something in your prompt, and I'll give some examples in my talk. I'm not going to give them away now. Just by introducing some words in your prompt, you can cause the results to be biased. Something as straightforward as that. So that's what we'll talk about, right? Because I think that's where the future is headed. And I think the company which has the best interface, remember the UI here, right? I mean, I remember when Google first came out, right? What was the coolest thing about google.com?
It was a simple UI.
You cannot have a simpler search tool than just a box where you search. And it didn't matter what you put in. I think that level of abstraction for prompts has to happen where the prompts are as natural English as you can be. And if if it's not sure, if it's not a deterministic statement you said, it interacts with you to clarify before giving you a result. That's where we have to go. That's my definition of future is promptless. And we'll talk more about it and hopefully have a very interesting discussion, not just me talking, but having a discussion with the audience.
You are the model speaker. You are the model friend and colleague as well. And I look forward to seeing you in person again and at Voice and AI. You can check out the conference at voiceant.ai. The event is September 5th through 7th in Washington, D.C. Come meet Sanjeev and so many other amazing people. We got to reconnect as human beings, man. That's I think
absolutely.
That's
we need to meet up. We are not that far from each other, fortunately. But we
AI,
need to meet more often. Let's do that.
That we need to get the human intelligence together to talk about the artificial intelligence, and that's what we're going to do.
Exactly.
So, Sanjeev, thanks so much. Really appreciate you joining us today.
No, thanks for having me, Pete. I'm just looking forward to the event. Can't wait.
Awesome. Me too. All right. We've had a great chat with Sanjeev. Come meet him in person at Voice and AI, September 5th through 7th in Washington, D.C. I'm Pete Erickson. It's been great hanging out with you.